Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Great to be back for another Locked On Texas Tech special edition. It's the Locked On Texas Tech Matador Mob Mailbag. We turn the reins over to you to take it in any direction. Another full bucket today, Chris, so we waste no time. We'll get started with what was, I guess for me, maybe a little bit of a surprisingly popular subject among the Matador mobsters. It's always on someone's radar, so maybe it's just not quite on mine right now, but we had Greg, we had Ben, we had Nathan, we had Lisa, we had Holden as well, all thinking about kind of the next portal cycle. And I want to get to, in just a bit, thoughts on what could be coming in. But this question is more so maybe about Red Raiders heading out. We've been in a little bit of a pause or kind of some calm waters and things like that following the frenzy. But we have another window coming up. So do you think from a Texas Tech transfer out perspective, have we reached the point where those things are settled? Do we still need to be on guard? What do you think as we move through the spring?
Yeah, so I just looked it up just to make sure, but April the 16th through April the 25th is kind of the spring portal period. It's a little over a week long, and I can almost guarantee you will have folks that leave your team. I don't think any of the what I would say would not be involved there are new portal additions, and then like your new freshmen that just got here. I don't think those would be anybody in this category, but you will have current players that were on the team last year. This may be the best way to say it, that maybe get squeezed a bit or decide this isn't best for them anymore, or the path to playing time is not there for them. And spring football, like Joey and company and staff will have a really good feel for their roster, who can help them and in what roles, probably already kind of do, but as you get into spring and you'll, again, for some of these dudes, it's a tryout. And sure. It's like your redshirt freshmen, your sophomores, your redshirt juniors, your people in the meat of that have been on the roster for a couple of years and are kind of waiting, and there'll be some folks that get squeezed. It's going to be a math problem. And I think Joey and company will try to do right and say to some of these folks, especially if they have questions, but he may get out in front of it, or they may get out in front of it and say, hey, probably not going to happen for you here. Get into the portal and maybe do it sooner than later, just so they can find a spot and try to and all that. And I don't know what all this is going to look like. I really don't. I don't know the timing of it, but I really feel like Joey and them they'll go about it the right way and try to do right by the kid and the athlete. And if it's just not going to happen here, give them as much opportunity elsewhere. And how many spots are available out in the ether? I'm not real sure, but
everything's always a moving target, like in all facets, it seems like.
And you're right. And at some point, we'll get into the Red Raider portion of that at the end of this deal.
Yeah. We got a question coming up about, targets and how that continues to evolve, what Texas Tech is actually looking for. So we'll get to that coming up in just a bit. Thank you for that question. This question here from Clay, and this is, after some time spent processing, as all Red Raiders had the opportunity this week, the comments following the game from Red Raider head coach Grant McCaslin that we got into just a couple of days ago, talking about availability and how that's decided. And of course, we're all wondering about that moving through this week as we look ahead to Lawrence, Kansas, and a visit with the Kansas Jayhawks following a game where Darion Williams and Chance McMillan were not available. Clay asks, so do we now feel that McCaslin's quote after the game was a pointed shot at D5? I think pointed and shot are two key words that maybe I'm not, really going to use, Chris, but I don't know. There was seemingly some specific messaging, and you pointed out the mention of Christian and Anderson and kind of the praising of him in that same answer as well. So, yeah, what do you think after thinking about it a little longer?
I think these are all very fair questions to ask, and I would say that it's fair to connect some dots there based on what Grant said and based on the dynamics. I think it's tricky too for us to try to connect some dots when we're not really sure what all the details are and the minutia that got us to this point. I just I feel like it needs to be said. Look, I don't think Darion is not somebody that I would think would be like selfish and go, yeah, man, good luck, gentlemen, I'm out. I mean, I don't think he would roll that way. I also don't know like the timing and how they got from he's not going to play, he's not going to try to play, what all went into him trying to play. Well, how did the conversation go? Don't know those details, but it's fair to say after you watch Grant talk through this publicly that he was like taken back, or they had to pivot a little bit and weren't real sure that was going to happen until it did, and all that. I think you'll learn more as the week goes along, weekend gets here, and the game in Lawrence gets here, and you'll kind of get a better feel for where we're headed here. Because so anyway, and do I think that Grant would like to try to take a shot or use the media to take a shot, to use the phrasing there, at one of his guys? Because coaches sometimes use that pulpit to try to say hello sometimes and all that. I don't know if he would have intentionally tried to do that. That's just not really his MO. Because he's very thoughtful. I think that he's very intense, as we know. But I guess I just want to say that maybe we just need to see a bit more here before we kind of do connect those dots, and hear from the head coach again, and see what it looks like on Saturday, and all the stuff. So that's kind of the trick.
I'm going to assess that it is what we all think it is,
and whatever
now what you think it is, and yes, that is correct. So
that's
go with that.
That's fair. and I think too, if the whole thing was really an answer in basically trying to heap more praise and appreciate Christian Anderson for his toughness and playing through some things, and everybody playing through some things, I have no problem with that either. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't know if there's a question about this or not, but I feel like it's a topic we need to get into because it's actually changed as the week has gone along here. But as it relates to your standing right now in the conference standings with 3 games left, knowing that Saturday is going to be a very difficult game, it's really going to be interesting to see how these standings shake out, because there's not many opportunities left here, and you are teetering to where you could be 3rd place or you could fall to 6th, depending on some different results here. And as it relates to who's available and who's not, or are you just choosing to rest guys or not, or whatever. And it's fine to look at it as like we're really just worried about the NCAA tournament. I get it. However, some of these games are going to dictate where that NCAA tournament game is played, who it's against, and all of this stuff. And so,
well, let me ask you this question, because it ties into what you're talking about there. This was also a popular subject as well. First, today's episode brought to you by Fabric. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and before you know it, they're off to college. And that's why securing their future is so important. And now Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes. And in many cases, no health exam is required. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. So protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. And it goes beyond just life insurance. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help your plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Question from Greg and Joe. We had Ed chiming in on this subject also, talking about, a Big 12 tournament in general. How important is it? Are you trying to win it? Are you win one and then you're wanting to rest? And, sort of another part of that, a question about how important are these games therein in the regular season for purposes of capturing those buys in the conference tournament. If we're kind of back even to the injury aspect, it makes it a little more interesting for us specifically. But what do you think of that big complicated ball that they've got to deal with?
So here's the thing, is that I really hope you end up with a double bye, that you have finished in the top 4 of this league, and for a variety of reasons. Let me explain. Do you get a huge bump from these games at the Big 12 tournament? Maybe, but maybe not. It depends on who it's against and all that. However, this is what a potential finishing 5th in the league would do to you. You would potentially end up playing another game, more wear and tear on your team, and if you were to lose it, it could theoretically very much hurt you, like without much to gain at all. And knowing you've got to play, if you win it, you play the very next day. Again, more wear and tear. You see what I mean? So the more you put yourself in harm's way, the more risk you are taking with not just your player's health, but your resume. Because some of these games, it's like, I do think that how much can it help you? I don't know. How much can it hurt you? Well, at this point, what's the difference between a 4 and a 5 seed? Well, it may be, going to Denver with plenty of Tech fans there potentially, or going to Providence, Rhode Island against a much tougher team, and then a potential much tougher second round game and all that stuff. So it all matters. But I just would prefer, because as I look at it right now, you're within 1 game of second place, and then you're also within 1 game of 6th place, I guess, theoretically, or 5th place, I guess it would be, because BYU and Iowa State are just a game behind you. Arizona's a game ahead of you. Houston's done. So I think between Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and BYU, because BYU is playing really good ball lately, and they are coming on strong. They're ranked in the top 25. I'm glad you played them early. They made 17 threes the other night in Tempe, Arizona, and hammered the Sun Devils. So they are 1 game behind, and then right there below them is Kansas, to which you play. So if Kansas beats you, they're now a game closer. So you need to figure out a way to at least go 2-1 down the stretch here in these final 3, at least. 3-0, you're good to go. 2-1, and I think you're good to go. But some of these other, results need to, because Arizona plays Iowa State. There's some other meaningful games here, but I just don't want you having to play on that Wednesday in Kansas City. It'd be nice to show up on a Tuesday, not have to play till Thursday, and then that game that you play, win it, great; lose it, no harm. But if you play on Wednesday, you're putting yourself in harm's way a bit with your player's health, and if you lose it, it's like, because you're going to play a desperate team that's trying to keep their season theoretically extended at that point. So that's what you're dealing with there.
All right. Thank you for that question. This question from Nathan also had Ben and Travis chiming in on this. I guess a video making some rounds. I saw a portion of this, and this is from the Monty Roberts show. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with so many of these who engage so often in like realignment or conference expansion or Super League talks. They're all over the map as far as validity is concerned or credibility day to day. There are a lot that are just tossing so many things out you can't even keep up with, and they're not worth keeping up with, so it doesn't matter. So I'm not speaking to Monty Roberts show credibility in these matters by bringing this question up, Chris, just to preface that. But Nathan and some of these others asking about the video circulating, talking about the SEC Big Ten working together to create a super conference with some absorption, I guess, in some percentage of the ACC and Big 12. and even possibly some additions of top group of 5 programs. This is the ultimate college football, at least, or maybe even college sports, futuristic projection right now. This is not like some out of nowhere subject to be discussed. But did you see any of the latest cooking this week? And do you think there's anything that actually has been snowballing, or is this just something to pass the time in the final week of February for the Monty Roberts Show?
This isn't, I'm not wanting to make this personal, but had you, and he's probably never heard of us, and that's fine, but had you ever heard of Monty Roberts, I think is what you said prior to this?
I have him on this like scatter sheet of kind of wild realignment places.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's this list of these accounts.
I know.
So I think of him in those kind of terms, but I haven't really dialed into him.
Keep him there. Yeah. Is there some shreds of truth and some possibilities here? Maybe this isn't anything what my info would tell me is imminent or real. If this is somebody like Pete Thamel or Ross Dellinger or Pat Forty or Stuart Mandel or one of those kinds of folks, then I think that like, okay, but not to, it's all about who your source, and did he have a second source, and who is that, and all that stuff. So anyway,
well, I think the way you phrase that is a great way to describe it, like shreds of truth or some things that have been discussed.
Or grades of slaw. Yeah, grades of slaw. I think that eventually there is going to be another movement here with things, and he mentions the private equity, just getting away from the NCAA. There's like with what he is suggesting, I mean, it sounds good and sounds real sexy and whatnot, but you start talking about like this is like bombshell, massive. Like this would be something that would just not be able to happen legally, I think is maybe the best way to say it, because there's a lot of contracts. There's a lot of, you start talking about pulling, because if I heard him correctly, pulling teams out of the Big 12 and the ACC to join this deal, some group of 5 folks. Okay, well, who's getting left out? Then it's not getting pulled into that deal. Then you get lawsuits and involved and state governments involved and all this stuff. It that kind of thing makes my head explode. This is all, if these conversations were happening in say 2029, I would be a little bit more willing to listen and buy into some of these theories and give them some legs. Right now, I don't see this as a real possibility for a while. And because I think that the next round of TV contracts and all those kinds of things, that's when a lot of this stuff could shake. And as we kind of talk through these playoff expansion talks, there's some ramifications here, big picture. I think there's some like looking, into a mirror for a lot of these folks going, okay, where's this sport headed? And there's a lot of pushback publicly from the just the public in general, and some of the folks that work at ESPN and the media folks and all that have said, you some of these leagues want all these AQs. Why? Like, what are you trying to grease the wheel for? You don't need to, and you're trying to tilt it in your favor. And it's like you just want the teeter-totter to be landed on your end, right? And then not get to do the thing. And so there may be some conversations about thinking this or that, but you're not headed for something like this in the near future. This would be, and I don't even know if even then, if that's what it would look like. But I mean, you could down the line, there could be something along these lines. If he would have added the caveat to what he was saying in 2030 or 31, I would go, yeah. I mean, I could see a lot of what he's talking about. But then, how much needs to play out between now and then? What do we need to know? What do we need to find out? what's the playoff look like? What did everybody decide? What's the money coming like? What does ESPN want to do with this thing? What is Fox? What is Netflix? What is, there's all kinds of dynamics at play, but like in the immediate, no.
All right, thank you for that question. This topic from William Hayden. We had Arthur as well asking about insight on hoops recruiting for the 25 and 26 cycle. Also, a question associated with that, how the decisions of JT or Darion Williams could influence the recruiting and portal cycle. A question about, should we expect the focus to be almost exclusively on the portal? First, today's episode brought to you by Roy. And before the Roy app, NIL negotiations often happened under the table, and fans didn't have a clear way to directly support the athletes they love. Now with Roy, you get to be part of the change and support Texas Tech athletes in the most transparent way possible. Roy, the NIL app, allows you to choose the player you want to support, decide how much to contribute, and receive exclusive content from the athletes you back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. It's a risk-free way to show your support. The Roy app has given fans control, no more uncertainty. Now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Just download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing Texas Tech athletes with transparency and trust. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your team and your favorite athletes. Should we expect the focus to be almost exclusively on the portal?
I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of decisions to make here. There could be a lot of, and like it kind of sucks because that's the one thing that I think you had a leg up on is you had EY come back, Chance come back, Darion come back. There was some culture, some nucleus. I don't exactly know what that nucleus would be next year. Is Christian Anderson, does he like it here? God, I hope so. What would he be offered? What does he want? I again don't know. Is Kevin Overton? Are you ready to say to Kevin, hey, we're ready for you to elevate? Or, hey, dude, you're still going to be kind of in that same role that you were in and kind of a sub. Is he okay with that, or does he want more playing? All these things probably. Federico, can you upgrade? Do you want him back? All we know, and then Mariala Kuntak, obviously is now going to be a part of this thing. It certainly looks like. What's the EY's situation? Does Leon Horner? Because the thing about someone like Leon Horner and like EY, they're never going to get any better unless they can actually play. And I don't know if that is necessarily available here. But so I think you'll need to try to get situations resolved with JT and Darion rather quickly. I'm probably under the assumption that the conversation with JT for sure will be like, hey, it almost be like a handshake, like, thank you for everything you did for us, man. Go be great. You can come back here anytime. But yeah, that's good luck. I would love to be wrong. Darion, to me, it's a bit. I gather that he's ready to move on. I just don't know if that is like realistic. Or as realistic of an option. He doesn't show up on any mock drafts that I see. Not that that's the end all be all, and all it takes is the one team. And so I don't know the dynamic there. So I wouldn't. I think that if you're Texas Tech, you say, we think that we can do this for you, and then make him at least think about it, and a bird in the hand kind of scenario, like Taj Brooks had.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But you kind of need to know that rather quickly, and it's tricky because he then at that point. You're not allowed to go through the process, or maybe he would go through the process, but it's like are you counting on him coming back, or are you while all these other options could be out the door and elsewhere? And I just don't know if people have seen what is going on around the Big 12. Like BYU is not going anywhere. Arizona is not going anywhere. Houston has one of the top recruiting classes in the country for all that they lose. So this needs to be like you're going to have to be not just active in the portal, you're going to have to go get some dudes now if you want to be in these similar conversations this season like you were next season like you were this one. There is some serious talent coming into this league, and yeah, you're going to you need to go find some guys, man, because look at what you're losing. You need another guard, you need another combo guard, you need a forward, you need another post player, and they can't just be guys. They need to be guys that you can count on and all that. So,
all right, thank you guys for that question. Speaking of guys, maybe even a dude, Trey asked this question: was the cross court putt one of the most impressive fan game wins in Texas Tech history?
We've had a half court shot get buried and a full court putt in both of them in the last couple of weeks. It's weird because I know this young man. His name is Blake Porter. He played quarterback at Monterey High School here in Lubbock. It's a great kid. He kind of played a little walk-on football for Texas Tech a little bit, try to get on and get going. Great athlete. I know his dad well. His dad, Mark Porter, phenomenal guy. And it's just funny because then I'm watching that chest bump thing play out 10 feet from me, and all I'm thinking about is I bet Brett Veach, the Kansas City GM, or whatever his name is going, oh, please, Pat, don't come up limp. Don't jack your knee up, man. Because I'm sure that's in some sort of contract, no chest bumps at sporting events. Please keep yourself in bubble wrap. But that was a serious putt, man. I mean, a serious putt.
Well, did you see him on Good Morning America?
And he almost made it twice on the Today Show. Yes,
and then Patrick Mahomes told him they're paying for his tuition.
Yes, well, because the first thing was his dad actually texted me the next morning and says, "How crazy was that?" Blake couldn't believe it. He's gotten so many text messages, and he said something like, he got a pair of headphones, and I'm like, oh man, really? They didn't even send him to Vegas, and I had a million things going at the time. Yeah. And he goes, man, it'd been nice for some free tuition, and this is his dad saying this, and he's like, haha. And so I texted him after I saw all this other stuff, and I'm like, tuition paid for. So they came. He did get an iPad and some other stuff too, but and I guess
speak it into existence, man.
That's right. And Adidas is sending him a bunch of stuff. So just a great
Porter
story.
Family has amazing powers, apparently. Shout out to them.
Well, and putting skills too. Yes. Yeah,
incredible. Just a magical family. All right. Thank you for that question. This question from Greg: is it a pipe dream that our offensive line and defensive line could be really good? He's just getting right to it. I'm afraid to even consider such things.
Yeah, no, it's not a pipe dream. And in fact, I think I'm pretty careful with my emotions or expectations sometimes, just because you've seen it all run the gamut.
Yes,
and so much of this basketball season has been very fun for me and rewarding because it wasn't necessarily expected at this level. I don't know how it will end, and that's all ultimately how some people will remember it. But 2008 football was in some ways not a lot of fun for me. And maybe for everybody, because it's stressful. There's an expectation there. Every game's a beauty contest. You won, but not by enough. We're just so overrated. It's just this. Nobody knows what they're doing. Winning wasn't good enough. And I'm like, for all the times that you wish your program was like Bama or Ohio State. In some ways, it's a miserable existence, just because the fun is sucked out of the room. Okay. Having said all that, in this case, I am willing to let myself tell you that I think you'll absolutely be good up front. And I mean, will you have the best unit up front in the Big 12? I can't say that. It will be massively upgraded, and it needs to be from last year. I mean, in some ways, that's a low bar. I don't think you were very good on either side of the ball up front, and I think that's why you didn't end up in Arlington. I think that there's room to grow, but I'm not expecting you to be like the doomsday Chicago Bears or the Steelers or the Buccaneers from a few years ago up front on the defensive line, or have the old the 90s Cowboys on the offensive line. But I do think they will, this is the best way to say it. Those two units will help you win games and not cost you games. And I think there'll be reasons why you are winning games. And that's a big step up from where it was last year.
Well, I like the sound of that. All right. Thank you for that question. Dwight Jonathan Emmett asking a version of this question. Pardon me. Do other sports utilize the new Womble? Which I feel like, by the way, I just want to note, if you're a guy that has got to have specified which multi-million-dollar, $100 million facility we're talking about. You really got it going on. We got Womble West. We got Womble East. Some people build wings of buildings. He's got wings of a campus, but either one, Chris, I'm kind of curious about that myself. Other sports ever involved in those facilities?
I can't say that that other athletes wouldn't come through there from a nutrition or training standpoint if their facilities are better over there. I think absolutely. The answer would be yes. I mean, it's not going to be like, hey, this is football only. You don't know the password, so stay out. That's not how this is going to roll. Football will get to use it as much, and whenever they need to, it's their building. But if somebody were to need to hold an event or have a training thing, sure, yes. I think everybody's weight room situation is such that you don't need to utilize that space, their weight room space, for any other athlete. I know other athletes on campus use the indoor field, the practice field, when football's not using it and all that. But yeah, that's one happy family over there. So there's no like, hey, football only, stay out. Otherwise, that's not how it would roll. But I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the basketball Womble, is that there's a million things that go on in that arena. Graduation, there was a science fair the other day, there's concerts going on, whatever. And if that's the case, you're fine. Business doesn't stop. You have everything you need across the street, and nobody, because I would say to you, in that case, that pretty much is strictly a men's and women's hoops building. There's not anybody else over there using it for any other reason, maybe a tour or something like that, or whatever. But yeah, actual usage of it, I don't think so, unless it was cryotherapy or training, because I've been over there at a basketball situation in the last year, and I'm like, there's some kickers walking through here, going to the training room. And I was like, what's that all about? And it was Austin McNamara and Trey Wolf a year ago, and they were using the cryotherapy stuff. I was like, okay, well, that makes sense, because that was the only place on campus it was available. And so, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
When you got such great stuff, and some of it just at the cutting edge of technology, I'm sure that a variety of programs are going to know where those things are on campus. And if you're at the head of the athletics department, and you're wanting all the athletes to have access to those things, maybe especially some of those things that are regenerative or healing, or as far as wellness or nutrition. But as we're talking about nutrition in the Womble East, I'm just thinking about what is it, the Cash Family Nutrition Center or what? I mean, that thing's not far from being brand new itself. So you've got the state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line type stuff really scattered all over campus to cover.
And that's an athletic department-wide facility there. I mean, that's I mean, wouldn't that? How much fun would that be if you just had a place like that, like where you were, that was just giving you 3 square meals a day, and you didn't have to think.
Sure.
Multiple options available all the time, and it's high-end stuff. It's not. I mean, I guess it'd just be like a full-time cafeteria, but I think this is a little bit better and more catered. I don't know. It just seemed like it would.
How incredible would it be to be among the most talented of human beings to deserve such accommodations? Yeah,
I've often said that if you just won the lottery, okay, and money wasn't an object, I think that having like your own personal chef sounds like one of the most fun things ever. If you just like, if money was no object, because it's like, man, they do it right. It's going to be clean cooking and well balanced, all that stuff. And then like, you don't have to screw with any of that. I mean, no dishes to do. I mean, just like that seems like a dream come true to me. I mean,
I'm warming up to the idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can get into private plane or having a yacht, or hey, yeah, we got a house in here and a house over there and all that. No, I just private chef, man. Just
all right,
do all that.
All right, thank you all for that. This question from Brett. This is a couple of parts here. How do we get an invite to the McGuire Fantasy Camp? Some are describing it, saying that internally the coaches are saying we're going to have the best defensive line, offensive line in the Big 12. Can you give some thoughts on this, or being wary of the hype train? So kind of what we were just talking about as far as those two groups, but I don't know. We're going to get this hype train rolling again.
Speak it into existence. So like you said, right?
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice. We're doing our part.
I think there's a group that's been going to the fantasy camps since like the Mike Leach days. They're on a list. It's a small number, which is what the football or basketball program wants to keep it at. I think that they share a lot that goes on with these programs, and I think that that's kind of stays within the group kind of scenario here. But so I can't tell you exactly how to get an invite. You probably need to send out an email to someone like Huffman or Alicia Weatherford or Joey himself. I'm not real sure, but they do it in conjunction with the basketball game always, and so the next one won't be until next spring, before kind of in the January, February months is when they would pick a Saturday home game, and they nail it down then. Okay, skipping ahead to the other one. I mean, I'm not ready to say that you're like a Big 12 favorite. I'm not, because I don't know if you necessarily are. Okay, so that's why I would say that. The returning production statistic we got into recently, the story about how much you've spent on the portal and the class, and we'll get into some of that as we wind this thing down too, about maybe where you're headed from here. But all those things, it gives some people a reason to buy in, and it also gives some folks a reason to, I don't know if the right word is like poke fun or root against you or whatever. Look, I mean, if I told you, do you know who Eli Drinkowitz is?
Yeah.
Did you realize that they've won, I think, 11 games in back-to-back years at Missouri?
I've noticed they've gotten it a bit going, but has come up.
Okay, if that were to happen here, what kind of dance are you doing at that point? Back-to-back 11-win seasons. Again, we've documented the double-digit.
Not sure, but it'd be something exotic for sure.
Okay, yes. Maybe you couldn't even pronounce the kind of dance that you
exactly.
would do.
Something forbidden in certain counties.
And so I just what people don't understand is like, you're trying to graduate from a certain phase. We discuss this often. It's just that you haven't done a lot around here in many, many years. Even in your best, your 08 year was an 11-win year, and not a trophy to show for it. No conference championship, no bowl win. If there's a trophy for beating Texas on national television. I guess what I'm saying is, I just don't want people to skip past a lot of these processes, because say you only win 9 or 10. Some people may feel very frustrated and very angry, but should they be? I mean, again, to each his own. Everybody can feel how they want,
No,
but I'm
you're
just
being
saying,
an insane person to
but you just haven't done these things a lot, and so if you want to let yourself buy into some hype and get, I mean, whatever. So I'm just trying to give everybody some context, because like, I don't know what I expect yet. I need to kind of be around it and see it and get a feel for it. But there's some legit contenders, plural, in this league this next year, with a lot coming back, but also kind of ramped up in the portal. But up front, you will look a lot different, and it will be better, and that pleases me greatly. But maybe that needed to happen, and I think you've done it. So,
all right, thank you for that question. Next question coming up is from Mike, who's asking about updates on what Tech could be looking to add this next round in the portal again. But to hear the answer, you'll need to be a Matador Mob insider. So hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. For those on the outside, this is where we leave you for the week. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing, and become a Matador Mobster today for less than a cup of coffee a month. So you'll get the full Mailbag experience next week, and have a great weekend, everybody. Hope to see you back for the next round. Chris, appreciate your time all week long, man. Thank you.
You're still shopping. Yes. And we'll keep hope alive, and we will discuss shortly.
That's right. We're rolling into the Matador Mob Mailbag Overtime Edition. As for everyone else, appreciate the time all week long. Hope you have a great weekend, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.